Welcome to the debate, live on the BSNN network. We are on site here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and let me tell you, the wind coming off Lake Michigan isn't the only thing biting in this city right now. It is Sunday, February 1st, 2026. We are exactly 4 days away from the NBA trade deadline. That's 3 p.m. Eastern on February 5th, and the tension, just walking down the street here is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
It feels less like a basketball season and more like a funeral procession. It really does. The Bucks are sitting at 18-28. They are, effectively out of the play-in picture, let alone the playoffs. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is sitting on the bench in street clothes with yet another calf injury. The silence from the front office, it's not just frustrating, it's deafening.
That silence really sets the stage for the central question we are tackling today. Why is Giannis Antetokounmpo still a Milwaukee Buck? We have reports from everyone, Shams, Woj, all the insiders, that he is quote-unquote ready for a new home. We have a team that has lost 7 of its last 8 games. So is the front office's refusal to make a move right now a sign of strategic brilliance, or is it just administrative paralysis? I'm arguing that the Bucks are exercising necessary, painful caution to maximize a franchise-altering return in the summer.
And I'm arguing that waiting is a dangerous gamble that ignores the toxic reality of that locker room and, frankly, Giannis's steadily diminishing trade value. They are playing chicken with a train.
Okay, let's get right into the heart of this. The narrative that's currently dominating social media, that the Bucks must trade Giannis by Thursday or they're just abject failures, is emotional. It is not logical. We're talking about a top 5 player in the world. Even with the current injury status, you do not trade a player of that caliber in a mid-season panic market unless you are getting a guaranteed blue chip return. And looking at the landscape right now, looking at the limitations of the collective bargaining agreement, that return, it simply isn't there in February.
That is a very bold assumption that the return will just magically appear later. You're betting on a future market that might not exist. You're assuming that in July, teams are just going to empty the vault for a guy who is currently limping.
It's an educated assumption based on market history and, more importantly, on math. We have to talk about the second apron. I know people's eyes glaze over when we talk cap mechanics, but it is the entire reason no deal has happened. The second apron rules are they're extremely strict spending caps that severely limit trade flexibility. Giannis makes $54 million this season. To trade a salary figure that high to a contender, and let's be real, he only wants to go to a contender, is a logistical nightmare right now.
Because the contenders are already spending too much money.
Exactly. Look at the suitors, the Warriors, the Heat, the Suns. They are all over the apron. Under the new rules, they literally can't aggregate salaries to match the money. They can't take 3 mid-level guys, stack their contracts, and send them out to equal 1 Giannis. It's illegal now for those teams. So for a trade to happen by Thursday, the Bucks would have to take back 1 massive, probably bad contract. In the summer, cap holds clear, rosters reset, teams fall back under the apron, and the math suddenly becomes viable.
Okay, I hear the math argument, but the Bucks can't afford no money, which is what they're getting from him sitting on the bench in a designer suit. You're treating this like a spreadsheet exercise.
It is a spreadsheet exercise when you're dealing with $500 million.
It's a basketball team, and right now the product is broken. But let's talk about your leverage point. You keep saying the GM has time.
He does. Giannis is signed through 2027. He cannot force his way into free agency this summer. The smart money always waits for the June draft. Why? Because right now, draft picks are frozen assets. A 2026 first-round pick from a team like the Warriors is a mystery box. Is it the 12th pick? The 22nd? In June, we know exactly if that pick is number 3 or number 14. A top 3 pick is a tangible blue-chip asset you can build a franchise around. Rushing this now for 75 cents on the dollar just to relieve tension is how you destroy a franchise for a decade.
I see why you think that, and strictly on paper, strictly in a simulation, you make sense. But I'm sorry, I just don't buy that the leverage is real. You're talking about contracts, I'm talking about human beings and chemistry. That leverage is an illusion because the situation is actively rotting from the inside out. We aren't just talking about a losing streak. We are talking about a franchise icon who is actively engaging with and booing back at his own fans at Fiserv Forum on January 13th. That is a line you do not cross. You don't come back from that.
He said in the postgame that he was booing the situation, not the people. He was just expressing frustration.
He's fighting with the paying customers. that relationship is fractured. And more importantly, you are completely glossing over the medical risk. Giannis is out again with a right calf strain. This is the same soft tissue injury that cost him nearly a month in December. He is 31 years old. His game is predicated entirely on explosive athleticism. If the Bucks wait until June and he doesn't play another game this season, or worse, comes back and looks slow, looks like he's lost a step, that blue chip offer you're dreaming of completely evaporates. The market is fluid. If he looks washed, you're stuck with him.
I think calling him washed over a recurring calf strain is a massive overreaction. We see players bounce back from soft tissue stuff all the time.
Do we? At 31, with his kind of mileage? The franchise is in denial. You have Doc Rivers going on TV saying his favorite day of the year will be the day after the trade deadline because he thinks everyone will still be here. That is burying your head in the sand. The ship is sinking. The reports are clear. He is ready for a new home. Keeping a player who wants out, who is publicly calling teammates selfish, is a recipe for a mutiny. They need to rip the bandage off now. Take the best available offer from the Heat or Warriors, even if it's complicated, even if the money is messy, and start the rebuild before the asset depreciates any further.
You mentioned the rebuild, and that transitions us perfectly into our first core area of debate. We have to contextualize why the Bucks might be paralyzed. It's the absolute asset hell this team is in, and specifically the ghost of the Damian Lillard trade.
It is the elephant in the room. We cannot discuss a Giannis trade without acknowledging why the Bucks are so desperate for a perfect return. This isn't just a bad team. It's a financially crippled one. We have to remind everyone what happened with Lillard. They waived him after that Achilles tear. They used the stretch provision.
Which, it seemed like a necessary evil at the time to get under the tax. They were trying to save money.
Maybe, but look at the cost. For those listening who don't follow the cap minutia, the stretch provision lets a team spread a player's salary over years to lower the annual hit. But the bill always comes due. The Bucks have $22.5 million in dead cap space annually on their books through the 2029-30 season. That is massive. That is a solid starter's salary or two good rotation players that they are paying to a guy who isn't even on the roster. They are cash-strapped and asset-poor. This is why I argue they don't have the luxury of patience. They are bleeding out.
Go on. Explain why that forces a trade now versus later.
Because the product on the floor is unwatchable. When Giannis sits, this team has an offensive rating of 106.0. That is statistically the worst offense in the NBA, even worse than tanking teams like the Wizards or the Pistons. They need cheap, young talent now to fill out a roster that is completely barren. If they wait until summer, they are punting on half a season of development for whoever they could get. They need bodies. They need actual NBA players to put next to, well, whoever's left. They can't field a G League team for 30 more games while paying Damian Lillard $22 million to sit at home.
I agree on the desperation, I really do, but I flip the conclusion entirely. Because they are in that financial hole, because of that $22.5 million in dead weight, they absolutely cannot miss on this trade. They have to win the trade definitively.
But holding him risks losing the trade entirely if he gets hurt worse.
No, listen to the draft situation. This is the key piece of data people miss. The Bucks do not control their own first-round pick until 2031. Think about that for a second. 2031. If they trade Giannis now for a package of mediocrity just to get bodies, and they become the worst team in the league, they don't get rewarded with the number one pick. That pick goes to New Orleans or gets swapped. They cannot tank. They literally aren't allowed to benefit from being bad.
So what is the alternative? Just exist in purgatory?
The alternative is holding out for a Sam Presti-style haul, referring to the OKC Thunder GM who hoards picks like they're gold bars. We know the Knicks, Heat, Wolves, and Warriors are the serious suitors, according to reports. But do any of them have the war chest to fix the Bucks' long-term problem right now? Maybe not. But you know who does? OKC. You know who might in the summer? A team that jumps up in the lottery, like San Antonio or Utah. The Bucks need a surplus of picks to offset the ones they lost. A hasty deadline deal with Miami might get you Tyler Hero, maybe Hawkes, and a couple picks. That doesn't save you. That just keeps you in the middle. They need a historic return to balance the books.
Okay, but that brings us to the price tag, though. You're asking for the moon. You want a historic return for what is clearly a distressed asset.
I am. And that leads to topic 2, the blue chip price tag versus reality. The Bucks have been clear to every team calling, They want a blue chip, young talent, or a surplus of draft picks. And sources say they are willing to navigate this in the offseason if that price isn't met.
And I'm asking you, is that price realistic, or is it Fantasyland? You're banking on a bidding war in July. But look at the volatility of the asset himself. Giannis's quotes over the last 4 months have been, well, erratic at best. He's all over the place.
He's emotional. That's always been Giannis. He wears his heart on his sleeve. It's part of why Milwaukee loved him for so long.
It's more than emotional now. It's confusing. It's strategic chaos. In October, he's locked in. In January, he says, I don't know about finishing the season. He's talking about being a black swan and needing to be aggressive. Then he's saying he's never asked for a trade. This volatility, it scares away trade partners. If I'm a GM, do I empty my clip of draft picks, my entire future, for a guy who might change his mind about my city in 6 months?
That's why the contract matters. He signed. You buy the contract, not just the mood of the week.
But we know how the NBA works. Player empowerment is real. If he demands a specific location in the summer, remember all those Knicks rumors from last offseason? The Bucks lose all their bargaining power. If he says New York or bust, the bidding war is over. Right now, with 4 days to the deadline, you have panic. You have teams thinking they can make a run this year. The Warriors want one last ring for Steph. The Heat always think they're one piece away. You can leverage that desperation now. In July, cooler heads prevail. Teams look at the calf injury, they look at the age, and those offers shrink. Better to take the best offer from Golden State or Miami now, while multiple teams are bidding, rather than waiting for some mystery team in the draft that might never even show up.
I see your point about the immediate leverage of the deadline panic is a powerful motivator, but I firmly believe the summer market opens up more teams. Right now, a team like the Thunder or even the Spurs, teams with young assets, they aren't making all-in moves in February. It just disrupts their chemistry. In the summer, the board resets. And regarding the Knicks rumors, it was reported that Giannis is not expected to focus on one destination. That is huge for Milwaukee. It keeps the market wide open. It means the front office can pit the Knicks against the Thunder against the Spurs.
If he's healthy, that's the if that just hangs over this entire conversation. You are betting the entire farm on his right calf.
Which leads us to the third and perhaps most painful part of this discussion, the human element and the locker room toxicity. We can't ignore the vibe on the ground here.
It's the vibes. The vibes are atrocious. You can't quantify it on a spreadsheet, but you can see it on the court. They've lost 7 of the last 8. After the OKC loss, Giannis publicly called his teammates selfish and said they aren't playing to win.
He was trying to light a fire. That's leadership, albeit aggressive leadership. He was trying to wake them up.
He lit a bridge on fire. You cannot bring him back into this locker room after the deadline. Imagine you're a role player on this team. You're fighting for your next contract. Your superstar, who is sitting out injured, is telling the press you're selfish. Then the deadline passes, he's still there, looking at you in the huddle. It's unfair to the players, and it is impossible for Doc Rivers to manage. You can't coach a team where the alpha doesn't respect the pack.
I disagree. These are professionals. Doc Rivers has seen it all. He managed the Celtics' Big Three, Lob City, the Ben Simmons saga. He explicitly said, Giannis has said everything that we need to hear. Doc is taking the heat for the team. He's acting as the heat shield. He knows that if they start winning, nobody remembers the quotes from January.
Doc is putting on a brave face because he has to. What is he going to say? Yeah, my star player hates everyone? Of course he's spinning it. But the players know. You see the body language on the bench. Nobody is sitting next to Giannis.
Discomfort is temporary. Winning cures everything. I'm not saying they're going to win a title this year, obviously, but if they hold him and he gets healthy, really healthy, his value restabilizes. Trading him while he is currently injured, out for several weeks, is literally selling low. It's Finance 101. You don't sell a distressed asset if you have the capital to hold it. And the capital here is his contract duration.
But the distress is caused by him being there. The toxicity is coming from inside the house. You're acting like the injury and the attitude are separate things. They are linked. He is unhappy, so he isn't pushing to play. He isn't playing, so the team loses. The team loses, so he gets more unhappy. It is a death spiral.
But is it worth losing 3 first-round picks of value just to make the locker room nicer for 2 months of a lost season? I say no. You endure the awkwardness, you endure the booze, you wait for the haul.
I say it's not just about being nicer, it's about preserving the dignity of the franchise. You have a superstar booing the fans, a fan base turning on the team,
If you drag this out for 4 more months, you risk permanently damaging the relationship between the organization and the city. And for what? The hope that the Orlando Magic get the #1 pick and want to trade it? It's a gamble with the soul of the team.
It's a gamble with the future of the team. We just have fundamentally different views on what constitutes risk. You think the risk is the environment. I think the risk is the transaction itself. If you trade Giannis Antetokounmpo for Tyler Hero and 2 picks that end up being in the 20s, you should just fold the franchise.
And if you wait, and he tears that calf completely because he tries to come back too soon to prove a point, then you get nothing.
That's the terror of the situation. But look at the precedent. Look at Kevin Durant requesting a trade from the Nets. They waited. They waited until the deal was right, and they got Miko Bridges and a boatload of picks. Look at Damian Lillard leaving Portland. It took months. They got a massive haul. History shows superstars always command a premium. Regardless of the vibes, the haul is always there if you wait for the right buyer.
Those guys were healthy when they were traded, for the most part, and the situations weren't this publicly venomous.
Well, we are about to find out who is right. The clock is ticking.
It certainly is.
Let's move to our closing thoughts. Go ahead, summarize the case for the dissenter.
My conclusion is simple. The Bucks are paralyzed by fear. They are terrified of being the front office that traded Giannis for the wrong package, so they're choosing to make no move at all. And I believe that is the worst move of all. You are keeping an unhappy, injured superstar who is actively fighting with the fan base. This will lead to a disastrous, toxic end to the season. His value will tank, and come July, they will be forced to take pennies on the dollar just to get him out of town. They need to act now. They need to call Golden State, take the Kuminga package or whatever's on the table, and move on.
And I maintain that GM John Horst is playing the long game, as painful as it is to watch. The dead cap from the Lillard waiver necessitates a perfect trade, not a fast one. They need a historic infusion of assets to survive the next 5 years. That offer, the blue chip talent plus surplus picks, simply does not exist on a Thursday afternoon in February for a guy making $54 million. The smart play, the hard play, is to wait for draft night in June. You take the pain now to save the future.
The next 4 days are going to be agonizing for Milwaukee.
They will define the next 10 years of Milwaukee basketball. There's no hyperbole in that. We will see who blinks first.
Keep your eyes on the ticker, everyone.
Until next time, this has been The Debate on BSN. Thanks for listening.